Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the 476ers podcast. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the Eagles, plus I'm going to vent for a minute. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode, whatever the episode. I can't remember the number. I always forget to check the number before I get on here. I mean, I'm just not an efficient person. I am efficient at certain things, but most things, the lack of efficiency is wild, inefficient. Anyway, there's a couple things I want to rant about. I want to talk about the Eagles. I want to try to make it a goal of mine to talk about the Eagles every week now, do a quick Eagles game. To be clear about something, I know a ton about football. Not to brag, except for fantasy football, which I know nothing. I don't know anything about fucking fantasy football. Every fucking year I come in. This year I made the mistake of joining two leagues. And that means it's twice the anticipation leading up to the season and twice the amount of, I think I got a good team, and then twice the disappointment when it all goes to shit. When it all falls apart, when it all falls down, what you gonna do now? But who you gonna call? I can't remember the words. I'm sorry. I don't. You know what? I don't even want. We're gonna mute Kanye for a few podcasts until me and Christian do our face off between Kanye and Drake, which will happen eventually if I ever get around to listening to Kanye's album again. I guess I'm just too stupid to understand the greatness of playing 4 minutes of instrumentals. I'm sorry. Neither here nor there. I was going to mute him, and I didn't mute him. Mute. So anyway, my team is trash. It's just trash. Anyway, so real quick, before we jump, so I do want to jump into some Eagle stuff. To be clear, I suck with football players' names. I'm just going to be trash. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that are going to make a lot of sense to you. Make a ton of sense here. I'm just not going to remember players' names, and that's just how it's going to go because God knows. I can tell you who the 15th guy on the Oklahoma City Thunder is. It's never mind. I can't tell you who the 15th guy on the Thunder is. But I for sure am not going to be able to tell you all the guys on the Eagles without a question. I had taken a sabbatical from football for a few years ago for obvious reasons, racism and the like, and the idea that they were breaking their own brains for our entertainment while the NFL acted like they actually gave a fuck about player safety when it was clear that they didn't. Now, so they cared so much that they even added an extra game this year because they care so much about the player safety. So so I had taken some time off. It was hard for me, but this year I really, really rooted myself back into it, and I'm back in. So it's going to take me some time to get caught up, but I'm still going to give you some real shit because I know about football. But before we get to football, I want to talk a little basketball because that's what I do. I talk about Ben Simmons. He's pissing me off. It was not really pissing me off. I'm going to say what's pissing me off is I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, as I am one to do since I create podcasts. I'll go ahead and listen to some other podcasts. That way I can reinvigorate my own confidence and why I'm doing it because I hate all of the other podcasts. Like most 99% of every podcast I despise. And then I'm like, I'm going to go record a podcast. It always gets me hyped. It gets my blood going. In fact, I wasn't even going to do a podcast today, but because I was listening to the Real Ones podcast from Raja Bell and Logan Thomas, I believe no, it can't be Logan Thomas. That's a football player. His name is Logan something. I can't remember his name, and I'm sorry. That's disrespectful. And I got immediately agitated about a couple things that I wanted to talk about that people don't understand about Philadelphia and about this situation with Ben Simmons, what makes us so angry. Because there's this thing that goes around. There's this national media idea, and it's not just perpetuated by national media. It's perpetuated by Philadelphia media who doesn't understand Philadelphia that well. I'll just be honest with you. They reference an article written by John Gonzalez, who I do like, however, just disagree completely. This idea that we don't like Ben Simmons because he doesn't connect with us in a certain way or doesn't operate in some certain type of way or something. And I haven't read the article. I'm just going off of what they said, and I'm reacting to that because that's not true. It's just bullshit. That's a complete lack of understanding of what we saw in the playoffs that frustrates us about Ben Simmons, of what we saw over the last 3 years. What Philadelphia fans want is somebody who gives a fuck. That's what we want. Why did we love AI? Let's be clear, right? Ben Simmons practices all the time. AI didn't practice. If AI was trash and we knew he didn't practice, we would have turned on him too. We loved AI because that dude left it all out there on the court. No matter what, he was the smallest, biggest dude out there. Now, there's also some other aspects, cultural aspects, in terms of him being from Newport News, kind of like grew up in the projects and a bunch of around a bunch of street dudes. And Philadelphia is just a gigantic inner city in a lot of ways. So there's that connection too. Hip hop, all of these other connections for sure that also connect the national, that gave him a ton of national love as well. You know what I mean? But it was all, it had nothing to do with that, because we don't give a fuck. Like, that's cool. You got the swag and all this and the hip hop, that's great. But if you're not leaving it all out there, we don't care about none of that. None of that shit matters to us. We gave Ben a ton of love. We loved Ben. We fucking gave him standing ovations the 3 times he shot a 3-pointer in his fucking career. We gave Markelle Fultz standing ovations when he would shoot free throws. When he makes a free throw, standing ovation. We're cheering. And it's a legit cheer. It's not even an ironic, sarcastic cheer. It was legit, and that was a problem. I didn't like that we did that, because I thought that it made it worse. But it was a legitimate cheer. We're rooting for these guys. If we think you're putting in the work that we believe you're putting in, and you come out on the court and you're showing that work, we're going to fucking love you to death. We're going to love you. We're going to cheer for you. We're going to connect with you without a question. We love Joe because of all the things, because it's not just that he shows up on the court and he's all this bravado and big time shit. Mind you, we love Joe, but we also hold him to task for the injuries and coming out of shape and all that. And the year before, people were giving him a hard time. You know what I mean? And I wasn't giving him a hard time because I understood that the Al Horford thing, but I did give him a hard time for looking flat a lot of games, for coming out looking just flat. But the point is for 4 years, we've been cheering for Ben. For 4 years, Ben has been promising that he's working. He's doing all this extra work. Instagram post, him shooting jump shots, him doing all this shit. And then the playoffs come when it matters the most, Game 7, and you're the smallest man on the court. Yeah, we didn't turn on you. This is not some sort of disloyal city. This idea that Philadelphia fans will turn on you, that kind of paints this narrative that we are not to be trusted. We're not people to be trusted. No. We won't turn on you. We have expectations for anyone we have a relationship with. And once the person we have a relationship with, once he fucks that up, we turn. Yeah, we're going to no longer be cool with you because you fucked up the relationship. Yeah, we didn't turn on you out of nowhere. No, we didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, fuck Ben Simmons. Fuck him. No. We looked at Ben, and there's still a split. Mind you, there's still a split. And the amount of people that were rooting for Ben, it was wild. Again, the Doc Rivers, this is some real high-level propaganda, misinformation type shit what Doc Rivers did in the Wizards series with if you don't, I've recounted this a million times. But the thing is that the amount of guys who took that information and tried to use it against people like me who were critical of what I was obviously seeing, what was obviously an issue, the amount of people that were doing that, they've disappeared and have now somehow they've turned coach. They did it within a month. I've done it all year. I've been doing it since last year. Since he shot the 3-pointer against, that was last year. That was not last year, it was 2019. When he shot the 3-pointer against the Knicks in 2019, I think it was November of 2019. I remember this because we were at Yards. Shout out to Yards Ale House, local brewery, Breast Brewery, and I'm fucking up the word brewery, Breast Brewery in the town. Shout out to Lomi Christian. He used to give tours there. I don't believe he gives tours anymore. Anyway, we were watching the game there, and Ben hits a 3, and Victor was there, the homie Vic, and he says, "Oh, we missed it. Ben hit a 3." And my reaction was, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck that he hit a 3 against the Knicks. The 3-pointer against the Knicks, now this was when the Knicks were trash. You know what I mean? The Knicks are better now. They were trash then. I don't care that he hit a 3. That doesn't mean anything to me. Hit a 3 against the Celtics when it matters. Yeah, against the games that it matters. Against the Celtics, hit that 3-pointer then. Hit the 3 against Miami. Yeah, hit that 3-pointer. I don't care about the 3 against the Celtics. Against the one thing that gets missed when everybody brings up the 42 he scored against the Jazz earlier this year. One thing that's constantly getting missed here is they had Rudy on him. They put Rudy on him. They essentially said, like, think of how problematic this is. They essentially said, okay, Rudy, this is perfect. This is a perfect scenario for us. We lost the game, mind you. Perfect scenario for us. Their point guard doesn't shoot. He can't shoot. He is so adverse to shooting. He won't pull up from 10. He don't even float shit. He won't float anything. Rudy, you can still be at the rim the whole time. Exactly what you do. Be the rim protector, and it's going to be 5-on-4 on offense. Shout out to Ben. He was very aggressive that game, more aggressive than we've ever seen him. Wish he'd be that aggressive in the playoffs when it matters, because that's the fool's gold right there. It's the fool's gold that we're seeing. Here goes Ben, aggressive against the Jazz in the regular season with no Joel in the game. Really, the only reason I said this when it happened, the only reason he did that was because there was this argument of who's defensive player of the year, Rudy or Ben, Rudy or Ben. Ben's like, I'm going to show you why Rudy is not the defensive player of the year. And listen, you don't have to show me, Ben, because I've been talking that it's a little overblown with Rudy. That's all. It's just a little overblown with him. Great defensive player. I'm not saying he's not a great defensive player. It's just a little bit overblown. And it's a little bit overblown with Ben too. So, yeah, right. What happened in the playoffs is something that we don't stand for, okay? Philadelphia fans, it's not that we're confident. Raja said it right. Credit to Raja. Raja said it right. You know what I mean? I just got so irritated by the take at all that was being regurgitated that I turned off the podcast and came here. But Raja was right. Raja said it's not that they have, even though I would argue we do have a, whatchamacallit, you know what I mean? Damn, I forgot what the word was. We have a complex. You know what I mean? We have a complex, the little brother complex. We hate New York. Fuck New York. We hate New York. We are a working man city, 100%. We are grinding. We are gritty. It gets cold here. It's a cold winter. Y'all better bundle up. Shout out to Freeway. All right? Even though what we do is wrong. Free beard sticking out. That's Philadelphia. Our beards are sticking out no matter what. Even if you don't have fucking facial hair, your beard is sticking out. The women, their beards are sticking out here. It's like fucking Siberia when it's cold. And when it's hot, it's hot. It's the middle of September. It's 100 degrees today. It's hot. I'm sweating. I'm angry. He said it's the Rocky thing. Yeah, Rocky. It's a great example. Not a ton of confidence there. Just the need to be great. No believe. No one believes in us. I can barely believe in myself, but I just know I need to be fucking great somehow. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And watching Ben in the playoffs means that this man is not doing whatever it takes to be great. And that is why we're like, nah, we're off on this. That's crazy what just happened there. Joel is out here with a torn meniscus. He's working his ass off. And because you're out here afraid to dunk the fucking ball on Trae Young, we're going to lose the series. We're going to lose the series. And to be clear, another thing I wanted, because I was listening to another podcast, to a few different podcasts who continue to regurgitate the point that that Ben doesn't have leverage. Let me be clear about something, because there was something I forgot to mention on my other podcast, and here's the truth. It's not just about the Ben and the Rich Paul and all of that, right? Let's take the agents, take all that shit out for a minute, right? Ben has leverage because Joel's window is not big, because Joel's window is going to close. If Ben sat out this year, let's say Ben sat out this year, that means we lost a year of Joel's prime. That's his leverage. That's actually the leverage. If you don't really understand that, Joel's window isn't big enough. The reason why we would trade for Dame, think about it, Dame is 31. He's not. Joe's 26, 27. That doesn't really matter. It doesn't match up, but because of Joel's injury history and all that, he's a big man who does things that big men shouldn't be able to do. Who knows what the size of his window? We have no idea. We're looking at this like a 4 or 5 year window, maybe a 4 or 5 year window. So if Ben subtracts a year from that window, that's a fucking problem. That's why taking young guys back might not be a solution here, right? Because the window is small. So yeah, he does have leverage. Unfortunately, he has a ton of leverage, actually. You know what I mean? In my opinion. Now listen, to be clear, I don't know anything about this shit. I'm just talking shit, right? I'm just some guy here, just looking, just here, blah, 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 bullshitting, right? So maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. It's possible. But yeah, but I don't think I am. And that's pretty much how I operate in life. Follow my gut. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. Even when I lose, I win. So who gives a shit anyway? So that's it. I just wanted to get that off. That took a lot of minutes. I'm sorry. That was a lot. I wanted to talk about the Eagles. On to greener pastures. No pun intended. Eagles look great on Sunday. Listen, one thing I want to say about this, about week one, and this is a rule that I carry everywhere I go. I carry this rule everywhere. I like to at times wet my whistle betting betting on football. I like to bet on the NFL. Shout out to the homie TJ. He bets on college football over the NFL, which is crazy to me. I can never, ever bet on college football. I never have any idea what's happening in that. I don't even know what sport that actually is. Even though I enjoy watching it, I don't understand what's happening half the time. You're like, oh, okay, Saturday, ABC, this is a prime spot. Let me turn this game on, 38-0. What? Why is it 38-0? Anyway. So I like to bet on the NFL. It's a more known variables, easier variables to work with, except for week 1, week 2, and at times week 3 are not known variables. They are extremely unknown variables. They're very fucking hard to tell. You really can't rely much at all on the previous year. There's only like, even when you consider, like, remember, there was the whole Tom Brady, Bill Belichick kind of not great in September thing for a while, where they'd be like, be 500 in September. So you couldn't even rely on their previous year's data. There's a few teams throughout the years, like your Peyton Manning teams, or now the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid team is usually very successful in September. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the good teams typically are successful. The Seahawks are becoming that. Russell Wilson is becoming that. Super successful teams in September. And then kind of the truth comes out of them. You don't really know who the good teams are yet, who the bad teams are. You have an idea of a baseline of, I think these are the good teams, or the good-ish teams. These are teams that have good things and good players, and these are the teams that have bad players. You know that quarterback play is everything. So if you have a good quarterback, you're going to be pretty good, right? You can start there at least. And then you look at the defense. Well, the defense performed well last year, but did they have a good schedule? Did they have a weak schedule? Last year's weak schedule might be this year's strong schedule. Really hard to tell. By week 2 or 3, you kind of have a better understanding of exactly what these teams are and who and where you can bet, where you can make your money, where maybe Vegas hasn't completely caught up yet on certain teams. You're like, bet, I can actually make some money here. So with that said, week 1 can at times be hard to decipher, but I do want to regurgitate something that I heard last week by Peter Schrager, who was on Bill Simmons' podcast, who said, if the Eagles come out like gangbusters, then that means they bought into Nick Sirianni. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot of questions about, well, what is the Sirianni thing going to be, right? Because he has this gravitas towards him that might work with young guys, right? Might be great in college, for example. Might be a great college coach. Who knows? But with the veterans, it may not be, right? The veterans might be like, well, what kind of lame, weird shit is this? But if the old guys come out and they're on fire and everyone's bought in, that we're going to be good. And I thought was a great observation to watching the game. That was what I looked for. I was looking for, what does this team look like? How are we going to respond to this game? And it's exactly how we did. I thought everyone looked energized. You know what I mean? And credit to Nick. I mean, he didn't play any of the starters during the preseason. We had walkthroughs through a lot of training camp. I mean, there's a lot of overblown shit in terms of that. There are some guys like Albert Hainsworth back in the day who required training camp to be in shape, right? But there's a lot of athletes now don't really need it. You know what I mean? Might work for 2 weeks to make sure everyone's at a baseline ready for an NFL football game, but to put somebody through a training camp to put them in shape probably isn't necessary at this level for a lot of players. So giving them time to rest, to come into a long season is necessary. It might actually make sense. Now, this could be something that blows back on you at times. Who knows, right? When it's not going to – if we come out flat, that's going to be what we blame it on. If we come out strong, that's what we're going to give a credit to. In the first 2 or 3 series – arguably, and I have Reuben Frank's observations here, which is a good article. I mean, I read it after every game, even though Reuben Frank tried to play me one time, but I'm not going to get into that right now. One thing he mentioned there, right? It looks like we probably came out flat on defense for the first 2 or 3 drives, which makes sense. That's when the Falcons were really driving on us, right? That's when they had all their big plays. But after that, I mean, that was it. They got the two field goals, and it was just pretty much a fuck you fest, which was kind of unfortunate because I have Matt Ryan on one of my teams for reasons I don't even want to get into right now. Just again, because I don't know anything about fantasy. Obviously, I'm bad at. I won one championship 2 years ago out of 12 years. I mean, I'm like the Lions of this shit. You know what I mean? Even when you thought I was going to be good, you know, I kind of luck into it, and then boop, I'm back to being trash again. And listen, every draft is the same thing. I come out of every draft, and people are like, "Oh, you got a good team. You got a good team. It's a strong team. Strong team. It's a really good team." And then, boop, trash. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm ruminating on fantasy football. So I was looking for that, right? And it looked like, yeah, a lot of fire. Our defense flying around the field. Our defense looked athletic, looked fast, looked strong. We just looked. I mean, we looked faster than we've looked like in a couple years. You know what I mean? We looked more aggressive. We looked stronger. I mean, Fletcher Cox was just eating that offensive line apart, was eating them alive. Now, the thing is, the Falcons are trash. They were trash last year. Looks like they're probably going to be trash again this year. You know, a lot of people were kind of dark horsing them a little bit, thinking, oh, maybe they could be better than we think. And, you know, could we bet the over on them and all this shit? And if that's the case, we made them look absolutely pathetic. If they are going to be an average team, the way we treated them looks like we're going to be a really good team. If they're going to be a trash team, we look like we're going to be an average to good team. My only real thing I could say to me, and again, I'm probably alone. I'm going to be alone on this island, but that's fine. I don't mind being alone on an island. You know what I mean? Because eventually that island does tend to come true at some point. And I'm not saying this as a indignation on Sirianni because this is first game coaching, right? We don't know. To me, the offense at times looked a little too conservative. It looked like it to me looked very Jalen looked great. Right, Jalen looked great. So there's two thoughts in my mind that exist. Because one, I said this before this game. I told a couple people, what is this? Why is there so many people that are just out on Jalen Hurts? He played well at times last year. He played really good at times. I think he played well for 2 games straight. And then he had one game that was kind of meh. And the first game was meh. You know, that's fine. But the 2 games in between, I thought he played great. Why are people so far out? It's rookie season. Why not give him time and see what happens? The same trash offensive line, the same trash receivers. And I had gotten into an argument with people about this, that the people who were defending Carson Wentz, if you were defending Carson Wentz because he had a trash offensive line and trash receivers, when Jalen Hurts came in and played better, he didn't at no time last year did he play worse than Carson Wentz, to be clear. When he came in for relief of Carson Wentz and played good at times and meh at other times, people were like, oh, look, and this is supposed to be replacing Carson. Wait a minute. You just said Carson has a bad offensive line and bad receiver, so you're giving him that pass, but the rookie is not going to get the same pass. It doesn't even make sense. It's not logical. So I didn't understand why people were kind of just down on him. You know, give him a chance. I thought he looked good. You know what I mean? There is a lot of things I like about Jalen. I love the poise. I mean, the poise is crazy. My man, the same face he has on an offensive penalty, on a fucking offensive offsides, the same face he makes when there's an offensive offsides is the same face he makes when we score a touchdown, and is the same face we make when we won the fucking game. You don't know what's happened to him. All you have are the context clues of the things around him. But if you cropped him out of any image and just put him here and said, how does Jalen Hurts feel right now? I couldn't tell you. Disappointment? Is he angry about something that he hasn't eaten in a while? He's hangry. He probably didn't eat breakfast. Maybe he didn't sleep well last night, I'm thinking. I love his poise. That dude doesn't get rattled. This man is steady. You know, he reminds me of The Departed when Leonardo DiCaprio was talking to Vera Farmiga's character, who is the therapist, and he's like, you know, you're in a room with a mass murderer, and your hand is steady. And then he goes on about how he learned in his life his hand never shakes. which is one of the best acting jobs ever, to be clear. If you've ever tried to hold your hand steady, it's going to just shake. You're going to think you have Parkinson's. If you watch your hand and just think, oh, this is going to be steady, you're going to think you have Parkinson's by the end. The best acting job that Leonardo DiCaprio has ever done is not The Revenant. It's not any of those movies. It's that scene where he steadies his hand, and that shit looks steady to me. That's just great acting. Jalen Hurts is that, steady. Just looks in control. That's the way I heard put, because I was a little, down, and I'll get into that a second. And I said it to the homie TJ, and he said, because he's a fucking winner. And I was like, that's a great way of putting it. And somebody else, actually, I was listening to Trent Dilfer yesterday, said Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but is a great football player. And I was like, okay, I could see that. That makes sense to me. Because what I saw on the offense on Sunday, and again, I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong. Who am I? I'm not an expert. But what I thought was a conservative offense tailored to fit Jalen, which is not wrong. But mind you, it's not bad. That's what Sirianni said he wanted to do. He wants to tailor the offense to the quarterback, right? But I mean, it's a situation where where it doesn't look, and who knows? We'll see as it goes on, because the Falcons couldn't get a ton of pressure on the Eagles, so you don't know. But it doesn't look like there's a ton of room where there's not a ton of room for a play to break down or for Jalen to make a play, right? Even though he can get out and run, but I'm talking about like that deep throw. When Carson was at his best, right? That MVP season, which we've stricken from our memories for whatever reason. I'm not going to strike from his memories. He turned trash later, but that MVP season, some of y'all are forgetting how breathtaking he was. That dude was making throws that were Aaron Rodgers type throws on the nose, 40-yard bombs on the nose. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that I wanted to see. I wanted to see them cut him loose a little bit. Let's run a deep on a throw. It. A couple of the deep passes fell short. There was it was deep as she was throwing it on the run, mind you, and threw it across his body was that to Ertz? Was that to Ertz on the right hash? I think it was, where Ertz had to drop to catch it, right? You would rather see him catch that, in his chest to turn upfield instead of having to drop. Now, listen, Ertz is going to get tackled anyway. It doesn't matter. Whether he catches it on the floor or he catches it standing, he's going to stay there. That's where he's going to be. There is no yak with that motherfucker. He don't yak for nothing. And I've been saying that for years. I was on an island. This is why I trust my island picks, because I was on an island 3 years ago when I said Ertz doesn't run after the first hit. He gets hit and goes down. Yeah, I know there's a Super Bowl one. Credit to them. I'm going to give him credit for that. However, 99% of the time, this man catches the ball, turns, hit, and he's down. It's over for him. He gets hit like a wide receiver. Not like any wide receiver. I mean, he gets hit like a small wide receiver. So, a couple of the long balls I thought seemed a little off target, a little floaty to me. And I thought that what we essentially did was tailor the offense to fit very quick reads, very early reads, make the first read and get it out, get the ball out. And that's fine. It worked. But a lot of the better teams are going to force that out of our hands, right? Are going to force him to make the second and third read, right? As defenses get more and more film on Sirianni's offense, they're going to force Jalen to make second and third reads to make sure to just going to force him to be a quarterback, right? And that's what I would have liked to see. Obviously, you're not going to listen. If the first read is there, the first read is there. That's it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Jalen turn down the first read and take the second read. Obviously, if the first read is there, it's there. But it seemed like the first read options we gave him are very easy, very safe throws. You know what I mean? As opposed to a hot route streak down the field. Devontae, just take off, run as fast as you can. Jalen's going to hit you in stride, right? Like, I wanted to see us take the cap off of him, something, whatever that allegory is. I would have liked to have seen that. You know what I mean? But you can't argue with the results. The numbers are there. At my argument originally, and the numbers became better as the game went on, but originally, and actually, this argument still does hold true. Let me, where's his full numbers? I don't remember off the top of my head here. 27 for 35, right? 35 attempts for 264 yards. That's what, 9 yards? Not even, that's 8 yards. That's not even 8 yards per attempt. That's 7 yards per attempt, 7.5 yards per attempt. That is not good, right? 7.5, it's not that it's not bad, but that is lower on the scale of quarterbacks, right? A good quarterback play, 7.5 yards per pass attempt isn't fantastic. You know what I mean? It's not fantastic. It's very West Coast offense. But 7.5 yards isn't fantastic. You know what I mean? So, like you would, maybe I gotta check and make sure. I'm fairly certain about that. It's just not. It's just not really where you want to see it. You want to see it more in the 8.5 and up. So that would have been, 290 yards, 300 yards on 35 pass attempts is probably really where you want to be. This shows just kind of points to the fact that a lot of these are safe throws, short throws, and let the offensive player make the move. Now, the thing is, we're stacked. Our offense went devoid of good players last year to having good players this year. And this was part of my argument last year, too, was you don't really know. The NFL is so fickle, right? The NFL is one of the most fickle sports because determining whether quarterback play is bad and making the other offensive players look bad is really hard to tell. Is the quarterback bad and now the receivers look bad, or are the receivers bad? They may look the quarterback look bad. It's really hard to tell. There's really a midpoint. The best quarterbacks can make average to bad receivers look great. You know what I mean? That's just a fact. Those are just facts. Bad quarterbacks can make great receivers look trash. You know what I mean? Those are just the facts. That just is what it is. So our offense looked fast. Our offense looked like we had a ton of skill position players out there. Devontae looks like legit. I mean, I heard people kind of fear, because of his size, but it's, we had Deshaun Jackson. Not to say that Deshaun is like the guy you want to go for. You don't necessarily want to depend on someone like Deshaun, but we've seen small, skinny, slight receivers be successful in the NFL. It's not ideal necessarily, but we've seen them be successful. Devontae looks like he's going to be fucking successful. Gainsworth looks like he's going to be successful. Is that Gainsworth? Is that his name? No. Gaines is his name. I'm sorry. You see, again, bad at names. Gaines looks like he's going to be legit. I have him on one of my fantasy teams. He looks legit. He looks legit. Miles is obviously Miles. What's his face? Goddard looked great yesterday on Sunday. I'm sorry. He looked really good on Sunday. Arguably looked better than he looked most of the time with Carson there. Ertz has blonde hair, whatever. So yeah, let's see what it is. We got the 49ers coming up on Sunday. That'll be an interesting game again. We don't know. We have just a lot of question marks for a lot of teams right now. Week 1 is so fucking confusing. If you looked at the 49ers and Lions game, what the fuck would you take from that? What are you going to take from that? You know what I mean? What are you going to even take from that? The 49ers team was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, right? What are you going to take from that game? I have no fucking idea. No clue what I'm going to take from that Lions game, because the Lions are not supposed to be good, right? They're supposed to be bad, and they were bad for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden the 49ers kind of fell apart. They ended up winning, and I don't think they did cover. I think the line was 8.5. I think they won by 8, so I don't even think they covered, even though they were up by 30 at one point. So what would you take from that game? What are you supposed to say from that? All I can say, what we do know for sure is this is a home game. San Francisco is flying West Coast to East Coast. That's always shitty, and it's going to be raucous. It's going to be a raucous crowd. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a tough situation for San Francisco. I like us winning this game. If we're just going off of what we just saw on Sunday right now, I like us winning this game. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to make a real prediction probably until after week 2, and then I'll maybe can go and be like, okay, I think I could see what might happen here. So yeah, I think that's it. Great win, great way to start. I seem to remember every time we play the Falcons week 1, we lose. You know what I mean? Over the last 10 years, it feels like we played the Falcons week 1 15 different times, and every one of those week 1s we lost. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like, at least. So great win, a good way to get a win on the road in dominant fashion. I mean, they were not in the game once. You know what I mean? Outside of the first 6 minutes, arguably for the first 10 minutes of the game, they were not in the game. So that's it, man. I'm a big fan of Jalen. Again, I'm not being critical of Jalen. I'm just throwing it out there about the offense. You know what I mean? Are we conservative because the Falcons were trash and there was no need to go out and be a little more aggressive? Or are we conservative because they're afraid of limitations in Jalen's game? That's really the question that I'm posing out there that I don't know the answer to yet. And that's it. So that's it, everyone. Stay safe. You know the drill. Wash your hands. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stop Asian hate. Get fucking vaccinated. Wear a fucking mask. Do whatever it takes. I mean, Delta's Dallas is beating the shit out of us. Echo's down I'm sure Echo's around the corner. I mean, he can't fucking wait to bounce off walls. That's an Echo. That's a science joke. Because Echo's bouncing off. I mean, that's something like for y'all. You know, I've been rapping a lot lately. Get ready for my album. It's gonna drop. That's it, everybody. Take care.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind. Used to come